Hello everyone. This is a video lecture about multimedia slide design. Just a couple of tips to help you to prepare your presentation slides. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about some of the kind of basics of giving a good presentation in terms of how you create the PowerPoint files. So what I'm going to do really is talk you through things like the structure of your slideshow, some of the important design features, and then at home you can conduct a workshop or I'll give you some tasks that you can use to help with your design. Okay, so the first thing is structure. So, I hope you like the picture. What does this picture tell you about structure? Well, it's about balance, I think. If you don't have the right kind of balance, then the structure falls down. So, generally, when you're giving a presentation in English, and this also applies when you're writing an essay in English, generally there's a kind of three-part structure to make everything crystal clear. What you want to do is say what you're going to say first of all. That would be the introduction. So when you say what you're going to say, I don't mean just stating the title. I mean you need to give a detailed overview of the main points of your presentation. So let's say your presentation has three parts. So you're going to say, in this presentation, in the first part, I will talk about X. Then, in the second part, I will talk about Y. And in the final part, I'll talk about Z, and then I'll provide a brief conclusion. So something like that, so that we know all the parts, and don't just say there are three parts and then move on. You need to say what the parts are. So then this is moving you into the main body of the presentation. This is where you say it. So this is the longest part, the main content. And then at the end you need to provide a kind of another overview or summary. In the conclusion, again, say what you said again. So the basic rule is say what you're going to say. Say it, then say what you said again. It's very repetitive, but this way the main message is clear and should be communicated clearly. Next, I'm going to talk to you about design. Okay, so there's a theory of PowerPoint design called the beyond bullet points approach, which is basically that each of your slides should have a visual message and it shouldn't contain too much text. So here's an example. What does this picture communicate to you? There's no text on here, this is just an image. What does this picture communicate to you? Well, as you can see, this is the American flag with the stars replaced by corporate logos. So in the American flag there are 50 stars, each represents one of the 50 states. In this version, all of the stars are replaced by corporations, and this suggests that America is made up more by its companies than it is by its people. So this is an anti-capitalist message produced by a company called Adbusters. So the message should be quite clear from that. And as you can see from the way I explained it, you don't need any text on the slide. The picture is enough. You don't need any text on the slide. If you've got a picture, you will explain the picture, and that's easier for the audience to concentrate on your voice. That's what you want. You don't want the audience to be reading your slides and listening to you, because they'll get confused. Really, it's better to have mainly images. I mean, of course, you need some text, such as this. Too much of a good thing. So, like chocolate, you can have too much information. So information is like food. Too much makes you sleepy. And PowerPoint is even more powerful, and there's even something called death by PowerPoint. What do you think death by PowerPoint is? Well, it's when people give very, very boring presentations, and people just get so bored they fall asleep or die. So the Beyond Bullet Points approach was developed by a person called Cliff Atkinson, who worked for Microsoft, and he basically suggests that when you create a PowerPoint presentation, you should try and create it like a story, like in a movie or a graphic novel or comic book or something. And so the story should be easily told through the pictures. Okay, so now I'm going to show you an example of a rubbish presentation. Cannot open the specified file. Okay, well, just give me a moment. Okay, so I found my example. So here is an example of a rubbish presentation that I made, and it's rubbish on purpose. So you are encouraged to laugh at how rubbish this presentation is. Can you see what's wrong with the first slide? Yes, spelling mistakes. In the title, it really is rubbish if you haven't spell checked your PowerPoints, and you'll lose marks. Here's another rubbish design mistake. Now on your screen this probably looks okay, but if I present this on a projector, it's very hard to read, and you really won't be able to read this when you're actually presenting in a room with lots of light in a classroom. So don't use dark text, dark background. And the same problem if you use a light background and light text, it just looks bad. Also, what do you think of this colour? This is a horrible, sickly green colour. Best to use neutral colours, I would say. Here's another common problem. You can't read the text because the picture's in the way. This sometimes happens even by mistake. So let's say you use an Apple Mac. I don't know why you would use a Mac, but let's say you like Macs for whatever reason. I much prefer Windows PC, but there you go. And anyway, if you use a Mac and you save the file and you open it on a PC, it will move things around. So best to check if you can. Here's another rubbish slide, the graphical relevance. So here you've got a kind of background that looks like an Egyptian parchment or something, and you've got birthday cake, birthday boy, death skulls. When you choose what to put on your slide, it should be related, and you know, because it's for a university class, it should be something, you know, academic as well. Coherence. So look at this graph. Can you tell what this graph is talking about? If the answer is no, then the graph should not be there. All pictures should be self-explanatory, or any graphs and things should be easy to understand. Also, if you have graphs on a presentation, you're very likely to make the mistake of just saying, in the first quarter, North was just over 40. In the second quarter, North was also highest, just over 40. Then in the third quarter, East went up to 90. I mean, this is a really boring way of presenting it. So, you know, just think about how you're going to present graphs and things. You need to think about what's the relevance. This is my favorite one, too much text. There you go, too much text. This is a very common mistake with PowerPoints, and then what people will tend to do is just sort of turn around to the screen and start reading the text. Microsoft PowerPoint is a presentation program developed by Microsoft. It is part of the Microsoft Office system and runs on Microsoft Windows and the Mac OS computing operating system. Death by PowerPoint. Also, this text is copied and pasted from Wikipedia. which is plagiarism, which means you get an instant fail. So please do not do that. Boring slides. This slide's boring. But then you've got the other extreme. This slide is too busy. Too many backgrounds, too many fonts, too many pictures, too many animations. Too many animations. Too many animations. Too many animations. The worst thing about this presentation is every single slide looks different. There's no theme between the slides. What's the one good thing about this presentation? It does at least have a focused topic, which is bad presentations. Oh, sorry, that's the end. Actually, that's not the end. But there was no end on that one. So you need a conclusion in order to finish things up. So again, you need an introduction and a conclusion slide. Also, make sure you put your name and student number on the slide and everything like that. And just think about how you're going to present it. Okay, that really is the end of my rubbish presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, coming back to the real one. Just give me a second. Okay. So that was the example rubbish presentation. What were the main issues with that, and how can you avoid making the same mistake? I would recommend that you really think about PowerPoint as a visual tool. It's not a textual tool, it's a visual tool. Okay, so here's an example of a pretty classic slide. Okay, so I might have already shown you this in the class. A lot of people put a picture there, put the bullet points there, put the title there. It's fine, except it's not great. Here's a much better example. The same picture, the same texts, the same information on the slide, but just made a little bit with a minor tweak, and it looks a lot better. Do you know how to change this slide to this slide? Do you know how to do that? Well, if you don't worry, I'm going to show you. So here's the one. Right, so what you need to do is, first of all, my title was actually here. Okay. Now, the next thing, shark attacked military rescue helicopter during routine training. Okay, now you can tell that this is a rescue helicopter. Okay, it's pretty obvious that it's a rescue helicopter. It doesn't need to be said. Okay, and actually you you can shorten the words quite a lot. You know, think about what you need to say. Driver escapes with life. Well, if the driver escapes, of course he's still alive. So shark believed to have been related to Jaws. You could just change this to shark related to Jaws. Hunt still on. See, so same, you know, you don't need as much text. It doesn't need to be full sentences on PowerPoint. Okay, the next thing, you're going to make the picture big. Now, notice that the picture looks okay when it's big, because it's a high resolution picture. If you're using a low resolution picture, it will start to look blocky and pixelated. So you need to use high resolution pictures. Then just let's send this to the back so that all the text sticks out before it. Now the title. You see I've got dark and light background on this photograph. So I need to make sure that the title appears only where it's light in the background. Here again, you can't read the text because there's dark and light. So I've got a solution for you. Move it down here, right click, Actually, let's do it the easy way. So click on the text box, then go to Format, then go to Shape Fill, and then go to More Fill Colors. Let's choose white, and then here choose the transparency, set it to 30. Bing! Looks great. Okay, and that's it. Make sure your text isn't covering up any part of the picture that you might want to show, and there you go. It looks perfect. See, ding, ding. Easy to do. Right. The next thing I want to talk to you about is we call presenter view. So on the new versions of PowerPoint, this is already built in, and also you can use it on Macs as well. When you use presenter view, the audience see one screen and the presenter sees another screen, which will have timings, and it will tell you how many slides you've got, and you can see the thumbnails of the next slide, so you know what your next slide is going to be, and your notes will appear on the screen. So it's a very good idea to put notes on the screen, and because we'll all be using presenter view, it makes you a much better presenter. Okay, so now finally, what happens if there's a disaster, if there's a technical problem? What happens if all the lights go out? So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about what to do in that situation. Now, technology rules that will make you a better presenter. Always, 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 always back up your data. Keep it on a USB stick. Keep it on another USB stick, and use something like Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive to back up all your stuff, because if you lose it, then in trouble. Make sure you keep your data secure, of course. Look at the difference between the software versions. You know, are you using an old version? Some people still use Office 2003, and then it won't work on the new versions. Now we're using Office 2016. Try to avoid using large files as well. If you've got a lot of videos or large pictures, it will slow down the computer. So if possible, you might want to use your own laptop if it's a good one. And get familiar with the audio-visual setup before you start presenting. Okay, so in summary, have a look at the software, try it out first before you start presenting. Actually see what it looks like when you put it into presenter mode. Try to go beyond bullet points with your design. Design your slides carefully, but don't overdo it. And that's basically everything I wanted to say about multimedia slide design. So now it's over to you. So you're going to work on creating your final presentations. Please make your presentation file and save it. Okay, that's the best place to start. Make sure you save it, and when you save the file, save it with a name, save it with your name, so that when you send it to me, I know who sent it. Remember what we said about how Einstein says if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Remember, you're looking for simple explanations in your presentation. Keep it simple, keep it easy to follow. And my own personal mantra is to hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. That means be ready for anything. So, next lesson is individual presentations. I'm really looking forward to seeing your presentations, and I hope that you enjoy giving the presentation as well. I know you all put in a lot of work. So thanks for your attention, and see you later, alligator. Thank you. Goodbye.